And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host and author, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome tonight debut author Laura Leffler here to give us the inside scoop on her brand new book out next week. Tell Them You Lied. Laura, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm like geeking out, but I'm so excited. Yes, the book is a dual timeline thriller about two young artists who moved to New York after art school, and it happens to be 9/11. One of the young artists disappears, and the other searches for her. So that's basically it.
Well, I cannot wait to get into every twisty, delicious detail. But first, I just want to welcome everyone. Oh, I see Cecilia Lira is on the audience. Hi, Cece.
Hi, Cece.
Welcome, everybody. We are broadcasting live to 7 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So no matter where you're watching from, you are in the right place. This is the right time. It is Mystery Monday because Mondays can be murder. We are going to make it a little less painful and get your week off to a killer start. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome, friends. Here's the drill. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask Laura about how she came up with this crazy idea. Ask her about the story behind the story. Laura knows a thing or two about the art scene in NYC, and I know I need to know more about that. Ask her about these two very twisty, complicated characters. Ask her anything that you are wondering. Write in the comments, and I will get them right over to her. So we have Sharon joining us from YouTube. She says, "Hi, girls. Happy Monday." Hey, Sharon. So good to have you. Renee is joining us from Facebook. She says, "Hi, Sara and Laura from Southeast Florida." Hi, Renee. So good to have you. Jane is joining us from Facebook. Hi, Jane. So good to have you. Welcome, 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 everybody. Okay, so Laura, I'm going to need to know all of the things. How the heck did you come up with this crazy idea? Tell us everything.
I know it is crazy, and it's sort of jumbled around in my mind at this point, but I was a young woman in New York City on 9/11. I think that obviously that's the most, the first thing that I was thinking about that time a lot. And I wanted to write sort of a coming of age story set during that time. It didn't actually start off as a thriller. That part came later. But yeah, I think I wanted to sort of write about that time in a group of friends and like their small little lives while this big, huge thing is going on, and sort of turning everything upside down and kind of how that felt. The thriller stuff came later. I really needed like the scaffolding for the story and more of the plot. So that was sort of like how I managed to create the plot, I guess, for these characters.
Oh my gosh. Well, I need to know. Okay, wait, let's start there. What was this before it was a thriller?
It was more of a coming of age, sort of like a quieter literary style novel, which I love also. I love reading them, but I think I'm very into thrillers and suspense novels. And I think I went on a complete binge, like this was in like 2020, of all these thrillers and suspense novels. And then I was like, oh yeah, because I should write one of these. So that's how it happened. I just figured out that I could write, you sort of use the same story, the same characters, and make it into something,
Ooh, well, you are in the right place for a thriller. We're your people. So welcome. We love murder and mayhem. Robin is joining us. She says, "Hello, Sara and Laura from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho." Bonjour, Robin. So good to have you here. Okay, let's get to some of the questions. Renee wants to know, wait, so is this a YA book?
It's definitely not a YA book. Though the characters are young, they are 22 at the start of the book, and then we bounce back in time to them meeting at the beginning of their time in art school. So they're 18 up to 22, but it's definitely not YA. I think there is some very mature subject matter. So my daughter wants to read it, but I'm not letting her do that. She's only 11, so I'm not.
Oh my, yeah. Although recently I had an author on who someone asked if it was appropriate for their 16-year-old daughter, and he said, "Oh yeah, my 15-year-old daughter read it." And I was thinking,
Really?
not let my child read this particular spicy book, but it's so interesting. People are more,
Yeah, yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
people are laughing with us. I love seeing your little laughing. They're the laughing bouquets of laughing faces going up on Facebook.
Oh, that's so funny. I think it would be, it depends on the child, I guess. Or it depends on the teenager. Yeah, 11 is too young for this book. I'll put it that way.
Well, I was so excited. So I actually got to read a super early copy of this. I read this book last draft because I was very honored that Laura asked me for a blurb, and I was delighted to provide one and to jump into this book. And what I was especially, I'm really interested in female friendships, friendships in general, but I'm really interested in female friendships. And I'm especially interested in ambition and art and creativity and the tangled webs of these worlds. And so the first thing that I thought was, oh my gosh, this is to the art world what Megan Abbott is to the ballet world or the cheerleading world, which is,
you know, I loved that.
yay.
I love Megan Abbott, so that's amazing to hear.
Yay. I interviewed Megan 5 years ago for that book. And so I love peeling the curtain back on these secret worlds as well. So I think I don't know anything about art. I don't know anything about the art world. So I was very voyeuristically peering in the window of this world, because when I think of the art scene in, New York in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think of this, I mean, in my world, it's this in my mind is romantic, dark streets and, studios, and they're kind of dirty and gritty and grungy and everybody's so cool. And so I was like wondering if, that if my imagination was true. So I was so interested to peer into this world. Tell us about your experience in the art world and how you drew from that for this book.
Yeah, great question. I think that's only partly true, what the art world is like. I mean, there is that aspect of it, but it's not all like that. I think, I have a background in art history. I have a master's degree in art history, and ended up working in contemporary art galleries for most of my adult life. So I was, working in art galleries, mostly in New York, but also in other places. But I also was writing like art reviews and essays and things like that, and interviewing artists a lot and publishing little pieces about art along the way. So I really did learn a lot about craft from like the visual art standpoint, and materials, and like how artists, you know, interact with the way their own creations, So I did get to meet and interview a lot of those people. So that gave me like a foundational standpoint, so I could write from the point of view of an artist, which I do in the book. But also there's a good deal, well, not a good deal, but there is some art history in the book. Nothing like, you don't need to know anything, but when I was studying art history, I became sort of fascinated by the images of female bodies that we see all the time, like walking through museums and everything else. So in galleries, and a lot of times they're naked, or, it's very sexualized. And I became interested in like, the women that we don't really talk about who are depicted in these images. So I did sort of go on a rabbit hole about, a lot of artist muses and things like that, the people that, we sort of got overlooked, and a lot of times were mishandled, misused by the artists who are so revered in art history. So I think, so both those things, so working in the art world, but also having like the art history background, it just kind of all blended together. And my characters are definitely striving to succeed in an industry that can be very superficial, and can be very, has a lot of, they're constantly inundated with images of the female body, and that rather than seeing like artists who look like them, and that they're successful artists, they see themselves more depicted as the art. And I think messes with their brains, both of them. So that was what I got. That's sort of how I got interested in this whole thing.
This is very fascinating stuff. Oh wait, Renee has a question still about, because I said, ooh, it's so spicy. She must know, is there sexual content in the book?
I mean, it's not like a romance. I love romance, but there's not really that much. It's more, I would say, toxic personalities, language, like language is an issue, R-rated language. What else is in there that I wouldn't, there's not so much.
There's references to, people having hooked up, but there's nothing.
Right. Yes. Yes. It's more messy and
details. Yeah.
General bad behavior. I mean,
yes.
That kind of thing that I wouldn't want my daughter doing.
Exactly. I love this. Cecilia Lira wants to know, what is harder?
Oh,
good question. What is harder to break into, the art world or the publishing world? We just picked two. What next? Modeling and music?
Right. I know, Cece. That's hilarious. I think definitely publishing, because
really?
Yes. Yeah. Publishing is much harder. Much harder. I think I don't know exactly how many galleries there are in Chelsea now, but I want to say there was something like some ridiculous number, like 500 or more galleries just in Chelsea in one neighborhood. So if you are interested in art, it's like they don't pay you anything. It's very similar, right? Like they don't pay you very much. And it's hard, but I think publishing is definitely harder. It's a lot more work too. Yeah.
Ooh, that is so interesting, because I think we're talking about two very competitive industries, right? And then there's like modeling, music, and movies. These are probably the top 5 hardest worlds to break into. So that is, I would have thought you would have said art. So that's fascinating.
Though, I mean, of course, I'm thinking about it from the perspective of like working in a gallery, which is not at all like the way that a visual artist would think about it. So I have to change my answer, actually, thinking about it from like the creator's point of view. No, they're the same. Like it is very hard to break into a gallery if you're a contemporary artist. I know I have friends that have been working their whole lives and are brilliant artists and, are still, trying to make their way in their 40s and 50s and stuff. So.
Right. And that could happen as well in the book world, or theater, music, modeling, movies, all of these things. Just so hard. Cece, what a great question.
Yeah, great question. Sorry. And I should have answered that from the creator, like the artist point of view, not the gallerist.
We should say they're both killer, cutthroat, literally. Okay, Robin is saying that, she said, every child and teen is different in terms of maturity. She said she might have been too young for The Exorcist at 12 or 13ish, but I survived knowing it's fiction. Yeah, exactly. My grandmother was reading me violent P.D. James, but I loved it when I was 11. I was like, yeah, the blood was running like rivulets. More murder and mayhem, please.
Yeah, I think I read Silence of the Lambs when I was like 12 or 13, but I didn't know and understand everything that was going on. So I think that had I known, it might have been scarier.
You're right. Exactly. Oh my gosh. You guys, I just want to remind you that this book is not even out yet. Laura is coming on to give us the exclusive inside sneak peek and to take all of your most pressing questions live. I'm going to get into some of the incredible praise, because Sara DiVello was not the only one to blurb this book. We have incredible praise from many other famous authors, like we have, I'm going to read them all. Alex Segura, who's been on for his last 2 books. Jessie Cusitanto, who's been on for her last 3 books. Andrea Bars has been on for her last 4 books. Lisa Jewell. I mean, we have so many rave reviews, and we're going to get to them. I want to talk about some of the praise, but first I just want to remind you all that the book is not even out yet. Laura is coming in. This is our first pre-launch interview. We're giving, you get, oh my gosh, the bouquets of hearts coming up on Facebook. You guys, thank you. Give us the sneak peek, spill the tea, sing like a canary, tell all her dark and dirty secrets, and you can pre-order tonight from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is, of course, Murder by the Book. So whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube, here is that link to pre-order and get your mitts on the inside of the New York art world and all of the dirty dealings contained in this killer and cutthroat world. Here is that link. Okay, so Renee has a good question. What is your writing style, and how long did it take you to write this?
Well, it took me forever. That's what I can tell you. I think I wrote the first chapter of this, almost 10 years ago, and then sort of put it on pause and had to deal with a lot of family stuff, and then came back to it much later. But it's been a long haul. I think I learned a lot from writing this book, about my writing style and everything else. I think, as I was saying earlier, I tended toward more literary, quieter things. And then as in the process of writing this book, I realized what I really like to do. So that was very helpful, and I learned a lot about like structure and all that kind of stuff. So I studied writing in undergrad, and I've always been able to write a clean sentence and that kind of thing. That has come naturally to me, but the structure and plot has been very difficult, but it's definitely a learning process. But yeah, it took me a long, long time.
Same. It took me 10 years to write my book.
Yeah, it takes what it takes. I mean,
That's what it takes.
yeah,
Exactly. Like books take how long they take. An elephant is pregnant for 2 years,
right.
and a human is pregnant for 9 months, and a fruit fly is pregnant for like a day. But everybody creates differently, and that's what it is.
Right. Hopefully it'll get easier now that I know about structure, and I can, fill in my plot holes a lot better now, since I learned so much with this one.
And I think, yeah, exactly. And I think that, writing a book is such a good learning process, especially for those who learn best by doing, which is definitely myself. So I think, when you're open to it and learning is doing. And so that is, it's so cool that you learned so much, and that's, a really good way to continue growing as a writer. I mean, it would be sad if you just kept doing the same thing, right? And you just it never evolved. So I think that's really cool.
I definitely wouldn't have had a book published then if I couldn't if I couldn't figure it out, if I couldn't evolve.
Exactly. Robin is saying, wait a minute, Laura has a blurb from the fabulous Sara DiVello. Yes, she does, Robin. Thank you.
I do.
Yay. And we also have some other amazing praise. So let's talk about this one from Lisa Jewell, because Lisa, funnily enough, also blurbed Sarah Pinbarrow's book earlier, which was today is Lisa blurbs. Lisa Jewell books Lisa Jewell has blurbed today is today. So Lisa had this to say about Laura's book. She said, "Tell them you lied. We'll keep you guessing until the end. I hope you never have a friendship like this." But Laura Leffler makes it gripping to read about. So let's talk about that, because the book actually opens with Anna, our protagonist, planning a rather dastardly deed. She is staging a mugging to scare her friend Willow. So immediately we're a little suspicious of Anna and her intentions, but then later it's like, well, Willow's like a complicated character. So what gave you the idea to stage the mugging of a friend? That's crazy.
I know, it is totally crazy. I think so many things had to come together for me to put this, I don't know, to put it in my head. But as I said, I was in New York on 9/11. My roommate at the time, one of my good friends, hi, Emily, if you're out there. She's a great friend of mine. She is not one of the characters in the book, I swear. But she was mugged on her way to work one morning. This was right before 9/11. And it sort of was really jarring and weird. And then 9/11 happened, and we were like, what are we doing in this city? It was kind of like that. So I think when I was thinking about that time and wanting to write about that time, the idea also, in New York at the time, I think, everybody was, as they should have been, were very focused on what was going on at the World Trade Center. And so little things that would happen, like things like breaking and entering, or anything like little crimes didn't get very much attention.
Right.
Luckily, people were being really, really nice to each other. I mean, from what I remember on the streets, everyone was super taking care of each other. But there were some incidences where police were not able to get to, help other people. So all these things just kind of came together in my mind. And I thought, imagine someone being really terrible and diabolical and planning a crime while this was going on. And it sort of just came from there,
And I think, one of the things that you reference in your description of the book is the competition between creatives that was first revealed in the writing world, actually, with the scandal of Who is the Bad Art Friend?
Yes.
Which was had thousands of people buzzing about what is creative license, can you draw on someone else's life, how, where are those boundaries? And
Mm-hmm.
so that was, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not so clear cut, right? Like it's a lot of people have lots of different opinions about it. And I think the parallel there is, these two young women are supporting each other, but they're also sort of working against each other at the same time. So sort of like a superficial support. And I think that's, it is interesting because it's not very straightforward who is the bad art friend in either of these situations, who is, they're both kind of bad for what it's worth. Yeah. So I think everyone can come away from it with a different opinion about like who is actually to blame in that story.
Well, there's definitely a lot. Yeah, there's a lot here to discuss, and we are not the only ones buzzing about it. Ashley Audrain had some wonderful words of praise. Let's take a look at that. She says a compulsive debut about a lusty college friendship. You don't hear lusty that often. Now I feel like we need to bring lusty back.
Yeah, great
Sweet
word.
artist, poisoned by envy, lies, ambition, and obsession, perfectly moody and sophisticated. This is the kind of delicious, elevated psychological suspense that you will sink right into. Andrea Bartz, who was on last week for her latest book, deems the book taut, dark, and beautifully written. Andrea also loves to write about female friendships, complicated friendships. She says, this twisted tale of ambition, envy, and toxic friendship had me turning the pages late into the night. And oh my gosh, I'm going to put all of your amazing blurbs in the comments so that everyone can read them at their leisure, but we only have 4 minutes left. So I do want to get to a few more questions. Someone was asking, what is your very favorite art museum in the world?
Oh my God, what a question. In the world?
In the whole world.
I mean, honestly, gosh, this is a very hard question.
That's a lot.
I'm going to go with my gut response, which is probably super generic, but I'm going to say the Met because it is great. And I used to live very close to the Met, and I would walk over there like on Sunday afternoons when it was open and just like browse around in like their early Renaissance paintings, which are like, my favorite things to look at. And they also have an amazing modern contemporary collection. And I think it's free too. So if you're in New York, you can go.
So I love the Met as well. I love the Temple of Dendor, which is an Egyptian temple that they brought in, and just want to sit in there and meditate in the light and just be in that magical space. I also went to the Harlem Renaissance exhibit there this winter. My favorite art museum, though, is the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston.
Oh, interesting. I love that museum too. Yeah.
I love it because Isabella Stewart Gardner felt strongly that art should not be appreciated because it is a Picasso or it is a Renoir and therefore it's good. So she doesn't have any of the paintings labeled. So you might be looking at a Signature Sargent, you might be looking at a Renoir. You don't know.
Yeah.
She just wanted you to appreciate it, not because of the famous person who painted it or drew it or carved it or whatever, but just because it resonated with you. And I appreciate that authenticity.
I do too.
Also, the space in the middle with the green yard.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else, but yes, that's beautiful.
What were you going to say?
Well, I mean, that was the scene as a like a thriller crime person, like the scene of the big art heist. So they still have the empty frames. Where the pictures were that were stolen.
Oh, it's so painful. They're leaving them empty until they come back. And someday, and I want to know where the heck they are.
I know.
Buried some way. Oh, by the way, Cecilia says she is shocked by one of your answers, which I missed because it was too long ago. The comments are coming in too fast for me to keep up. But oh my gosh. Okay, so Robin wants to know, does this mean contemporary art is your personal favorite? Do you have a favorite artist, alive or dead? Great question.
That is a great question. I mean, yes, I love a lot of different times in art, but contemporary art it's what I studied most in my degree. So, and it's like what I know most. It's like the stuff that I would sell when I was working in galleries. I think my favorite artist right now is Anna Mendieta. She was a performance artist in the 70s and 80s. And she did these amazing feminist, like just intense performances and photographs and videos. And she has a tragic story, but I won't get into that. But her artwork speaks for itself. But it's amazing.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, we have one more minute. We're going to go into the lightning round because I want to get both of these because they're such good questions. Cecilia wants to know, what's a common misperception about the art world that you wish that everyone understood? Cecilia with the questions.
Oh my God, Cece, you're putting me on the spot. A common I don't know. I don't know. I think what are some common misconceptions?
That killer world, that everyone is doing drugs, that everyone's sleeping with everyone, that they're dirty and grungy and living in lofts with.
Well, I think, maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe that's part of it. There's some truth to that. But I wish that people would understand that there are a lot of artists who are like struggling to make it, and that a lot of times they aren't paid for their labor and their work. Yeah. And a lot of the art market is traded between very, very wealthy individuals, and that the actual creators sort of don't get the recognition they deserve, especially with auction houses and stuff like that. Like when the artwork is trading hands, like the artists are not generally benefiting from that at all. It's really just like dealers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Sorry.
Renee, great question. What do you want readers to take away from this book? I love that.
That's a really great question. And I think, I have a little afterward, an author's note at the end of the book. And
I loved that author's note.
Oh, did you read it? Thank you. It's more about.
I read it first. I always read the author's note first.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good to know.
I read the author's note and the acknowledgement
there. Yeah, I slipped it in there at the end because I was like, I really want to say this, and I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to. But I was pretty much directly speaking at any young woman who may be picking up this book and reading this book, and just to understand that if you are trying to make it in the art world, like make sure that you are assertive and that you're paying attention to your own needs and not trying to flatten yourself or letting anyone else take the life out of you and create an object out of you, basically. I think I said it more eloquently in my author's note, but yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Like just be strong and be your own self, and don't let anyone kind of dull you down.
I love that. Yeah. Cause I was wondering, first of all, I love an author's note. I always read it first, but I feel like this is a book with a message, and it's written from the heart and from your own experience. And so I was very curious what you wanted people to take. And so Renee, I'm glad that Renee and I are always vibing. Renee's been with me for 5 years. Renee, all my mavens have been with me for 5 years. I love these guys. And I love that question. And I love hearing you say that, what you said about don't flatten yourself,
Yeah.
Because that's so, apropos for art.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking, trying to fit a certain mold or whatever.
You guys, time flies when you are having fun, and we are having so much fun, but I am just putting all of, and Renee says, thank you, Laura and Sara, for a fantastic interview, a fantastic discussion, and for answering all her questions. She says, Cece says, I was shocked by her answer that publishing is hard to break into. She likes to shock us, doesn't she, Cece? She's just as shocking us left and right.
Yeah. But I jumped the gun on that one because I think it's the same. So yeah.
Have you been to the Barnes Museum in Philadelphia, Laura?
I have been to the Barnes. Yes.
Is it the new one?
Let's see. I haven't been there since 2014.
Okay, they moved it since then out of the guy's house. downtown and build it a proper museum, which was like a 20-year fight between
That's
the board.
that's a huge scandal because he also
I know.
didn't want anything
He
moved.
didn't want that, but people were blocking the driveway. They couldn't get enough people in, whatever. So they moved it downtown
Actually,
on Art Row, and
yeah.
they put it in a proper museum. And it took the board 20 years of fighting. I've been to that. I've only been to the new one. Renee, great question. I love that space.
Yeah, I actually feel like I've only been to the new one. I think I
Oh,
wonder,
okay.
was it like 10 years ago that they did that or more? I'm gonna have to look it up. I don't know.
God, was it that long? I think it was after the pandemic, but now I'm doubting
Oh,
myself.
really? Okay.
Now I'm doubting myself. Cece is saying, I don't know who is the bad art friend, but I am clearly a bad agent. No, Cece, you're the best agent. Everyone here loves
What
you.
are you talking about? Cece is the best agent. The best agent.
She and a wonderful friend. We love Cece here. Okay, I am putting the rest of Laura's incredible blurbs in the comments so that everyone can read them at their leisure. Samantha Bailey, Kira Davis, Lurie, Alka Joshi. I mean, the praise, Sara DiVello, just the praise keeps going. I mean, not clearly the best is Sara DiVello. The praise is just going and going and going. And I want you guys to really see what the other writers, many of whom Samantha's been on for her last couple books, see what they're saying about this. But again, Laura is coming on a week early. This is to give us the exclusive inside scoop, which is just how we like it on Mavens. And you can pre-order tonight or anytime from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is Murder by the Book. Whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube, here again is that link. So get your mitts on the world of the art world. Tell them you lied. Laura Leffler, thank you so much for joining us here, giving us the inside scoop, spilling the tea, telling us all of your secrets. And thank you. Oh, okay. The Barnes changed in 2012. Thank you, Renee.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you to everyone who commented. Thank you to everyone who watched. And thank you to everyone who just watched with us. I see you too. So shout outs to Annalie, Renee, Katja, Clue, Sandy, Simone, Patricia, Becky, Kristen, Steve, Alan, Stacy. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, everybody. Oh my goodness. John, Monique. Hi, everybody. John's joining us from Northeast Ohio. Alma, Inda, Jane, Lee with an Leigh, Lee with an Lee, Steve. Oh my gosh, Tony, I can't get to everybody, but I see you. I appreciate you. Mavens, I love you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sara, so much.
Yay. All right, you guys, I'll be off next week because it's Memorial Day, but I'll be back in June, and you guys better stay ready for me because we're coming in red hot. All right, that's a wrap for us. Hope your week is off to a killer start.
Thank you.